They called her dead weight. She turned their empire into a monument with their names etched in the ruins. The architect isn't a story of revenge. It's a blueprint for legacy. They called me dead weight in front of 37 people. No warning, no meeting invite. Just Bradley Whitmore sliding into my weekly operations review like a preppy guillotine in tailored chinos and a pistachio smoothie. He leaned against the whiteboard I'd been presenting on and said, loud and bored, "I don't get why we still have legacy staff. It's like carrying dead weight." No one laughed. No one moved, just the faint hum of the HVAC and the stench of my dignity catching fire. 12 years. I'd built the company's supply chain from scratch. I'd weathered 3 corporate crises, a pandemic, and a multi-million-dollar acquisition I brokered while my father died in hospice, all before Bradley even graduated from whatever Ivy League frat factory had taught him that smirk. Bradley, son of Robert Whitmore, the CEO. Official title, Transformation Consultant. Unofficial title, CEO in waiting with nepotism dripping off his resume like grease from a fast food burger. Rumor was his last job lasted 9 months and ended in a mutual decision. After someone caught him plagiarizing a pitch deck from a YouTube dropshipper, now he was running the show. I didn't say a word. I closed my PowerPoint, nodded to my team, and walked out before my face betrayed me. Locked myself in the bathroom, sat on the toilet like a war widow in a silk blouse, and stared at the cracked black tile until my breathing slowed. 12 visible cracks, 1 for each year I gave that company. I'd seen layoffs. Been in the room when we shaved entire departments off the books. But this wasn't business. This was personal, calculated, and something about the way Bradley said it's so smug, so certain itched at the back of my neck. He wasn't firing me. He was making room. He had a plan. Back at my desk, a yellow post-it note was waiting on my monitor. Bradley wants to see you. 4 p.m. I texted my husband, looks like it's happening. He replied, I'll chill the champagne, or the shotgun. At 4 o'clock sharp, I walked into the glass conference room. Bradley was already seated, flanked by 2 HR reps who wore the kind of polite expressions that come before someone tries to end your mortgage. Sarah, Bradley said, like we were old college friends. Let's be honest, you've been a really solid archive. There was a thick, glossy folder on the table. Severance packet. We're pivoting, leaner, more agile, he continued. Think of this as a chance for reinvention. The severance was generous. 6 months of base pay, bonus included, and full vesting of my stock options. It wasn't mercy. It was insurance. They wanted me to go quietly. I signed the papers with a steady hand and a throat full of battery acid. At home, I uncorked a bottle of wine older than Bradley's Instagram account and opened a different folder. The one I'd hidden in the closet for 6 months. Confidential documents. Moga acquisition packet. Bradley didn't know I'd been in quiet talks with Moga, the freight supplier. Our entire logistics system depended on. He didn't know their founder was getting divorced. Or that I'd flown to Houston last fall in a gray blazer and left with a napkin signed under NDA. He didn't know any of it, but he would soon. Monday morning, I walked into a nondescript building 2 hours outside the city. No logos, no receptionist. Just a keypad and a flickering fluorescent bulb. Vince Caldwell, founder of Moga, met me in the break room. You sure you want this headache? He asked, sipping burnt coffee. I'm a woman in logistics, I said. I've already danced with the devil. This is just his cousin. He laughed and handed me a folder. Inside, 51% ownership. Pending wire confirmation. I transferred the funds from 3 sources. My severance package, an old crypto investment I'd made when Bitcoin was a party joke, and my late sister's trust fund something I'd sworn never to touch unless blood was in the water. And it tasted like pistachio, smoothie. By 11:45 a.m. I had majority control of Moga. By 1:30 p.m., I was listed as interim chair. By 2:10 p.m., I was drafting a restructuring letter to Whitmore. Corp 18% rate increase and a sudden scheduling delay due to strategic realignment. No fireworks. No lawsuits. Just a freight bomb wrapped in velvet. At 3:26 p.m., I got a text. We should talk. Your move didn't go unnoticed. Just a letter. Only one person in my life ever signed off like that. Katrina Whitmore, Bradley's mother, Robert's ex-wife. The woman who once whispered to me during a merger summit, "You know you're smarter than all of them." You just hide it too well. I hadn't heard from her in 6 years. Not since she disappeared after the divorce. Now, she was back, and she'd noticed my little chess move. The next night at Belme's, the kind of restaurant where power whispered and secrets drank wine, she slid a small envelope across the table. Inside, photos, Bradley shaking hands with Vince Caldwell. A stock transfer agreement dated 2 weeks before my buyout. Emails between Bradley and Moga's CFO discussing an acquisition. Katrina sipped her wine. He tried to beat you to it, but he didn't know who held the swing shares. You blocked his consolidation plan, she said. Which means ... I have an offer. I raised a brow. 5%, she said. Silent stake. I feed you intel, you make the moves, and why would I trust you? Because I hate my son more than you do. We clinked glasses. 3 days later, FinTech Distribution canceled their contract with Whitmore Corp. Gerald Finn signed with Moga instead, 10% lower rates. Guaranteed delivery. Zero surcharge, fluctuations. Bradley didn't show up to HQ for 2 days. Then I got a courier envelope. No return address. Just my name. Inside, a Polaroid. Bradley, shirtless, holding a tumbler of whiskey. One arm around Harrison Drake Whitmore's CFO timestamp. Last Thursday, 3:44 a.m. On the back, everyone has leverage. You just have to decide where to press. Katrina wasn't just feeding me intel. She was running the whole damn board, and I was the sharpest blade in her drawer. But brilliant conspirators forget that no one likes being a pawn, even in a winning game. The contract with FinTech had always been strained more inertia than partnership. But Gerald Finn stayed, mostly out of habit. Until now, we met for coffee. I didn't pitch, I didn't plead, I just slid a single page across the table. Moga's new exclusive distribution rates. 10%. Lower than Whitmore's guaranteed on-time delivery. Zero surcharge fluctuations for 18 months. Gerald studied the numbers. Then looked up at me. He finally stepped on the wrong throat. Huh. I sipped my latte. And I'm offering you the boot to finish the job. He signed that afternoon. By Friday, Whitmore's logistics team was in full-blown panic. An internal email leaked blessed the interns with the subject line, urgent, FinTech on pause. Who approved this? Bradley hadn't shown up to HQ in 2 days. Rumor was he was working remotely, which translated to pacing around his designer loft, sweating bullets, blaming everyone but himself. That weekend, I got a courier envelope. No return address. Just my name in capital letters. Inside, a single Polaroid. Bradley, shirtless, tumbler of whiskey in one hand. His other arm wrapped around someone disturbingly familiar, Harrison Drake, Whitmore's CFO, timestamp, last Thursday, 3:44 a.m. on the back. In looping ink, everyone has leverage. You just have to decide where to press. It hit me like a dropped anvil. Katrina wasn't feeding me. BREAD, CRUMBS. She was orchestrating a full-blown symphony of destruction, and I was the instrument making the most noise. I didn't sleep. Not because of the photo Bradley and his drunken frat boy pose was grotesquely mesmerizing, but because of what it meant. Surveillance. Deep surveillance. Katrina didn't just have reach. She had foresight and a plan. The Polaroid wasn't blackmail. It was a message. I'm watching. I called her Sunday afternoon. I want the truth. No greeting, no pleasantries. Just heat. She didn't miss a beat. Since the day Robert called me a brand liability and paid me to disappear. You waited 6 years. I waited for the right storm. Then you showed up. Lightning in a bottle. And what happens after we burn it down? You just want revenge. She paused. It wasn't hesitation, it was calculation. I want my company back. Not in name. In truth, and I don't care who has to fall to get it. For the first time, I hesitated, because she didn't mean fall metaphorically. Monday morning. I got the email. Subject, urgent, Moga vendor suspension. Bradley had frozen all of Moga's POS, claimed discrepancies in quality assurance and referenced a non-existent audit. Effective immediately, payments halted. Communications rerouted through legal. It was a corporate siege. But Bradley didn't. No, I'd already rerouted 40% of those deliveries through shell vendors I owned under a holding company. Same product. Different name. Different freight tag. His suspension meant nothing to the trucks already unloading behind his warehouses. But optics. Optics were everything. I needed a response, so I made it public. An open letter. Precise, lethal. At Mocha we stand by our performance. Delays caused by internal policy shifts within client organizations do not reflect our logistics standards but their internal disarray. We remain committed to all contracts under agreement. We will not, however, compromise on integrity or transparency. I hit send at 2:13 p.m. By 2:26. Hashtag Whitmore Meltdown was trending on Twitter by 3 o'clock. Two major clients contacted Mocha directly, asking to bypass Whitmore and negotiate with us. At 4:07 p.m., Katrina texted, "Well played, Queen. He's pacing in Daddy's office, calling it sabotage. Guess who Daddy's siding with?" Then a second message. "Also, he just had a visitor." Attached a grainy still from a security cam. Bradley, in his office. Across from a lawyer in a slate gray suit. The kind of suit that doesn't talk unless it's on retainer. The email hit my inbox at 8:01 a.m. sharp. Subject, Whitmore Corp. v. Sarah Tran. Preliminary injunction. It read like bad fan fiction. Malicious interference. Corporate espionage. Conflicts of interest. My personal favorite. Emotional instability resulting in retaliatory acquisition. All that was missing was an accusation of witchcraft. He wasn't trying to win, he was trying to stall. A court-granted injunction even frees Mocha's ability to sign new contracts. He wanted chaos at noon. I walked into Whitmore Tower with my attorney, Eliza Harton, flinching, unbothered, undefeated. The board had been summoned. Bradley thought he'd ambush me in front of them. Instead, Eliza handed out slim black folders. Each contained a timeline of unauthorized communication between Bradley and Mocha's CFO, evidence of attempts to inflate shipping rates. Shell Company records tracing ownership to a misspelled but notarized version of Bradley's own name. He tried to buy Mocha out from under his own father. When Eliza finished speaking, the room was dead quiet. Bradley stammered, "This is out of context." I was you were defrauding your own company." Eliza replied, voice sharp enough to draw blood. "And the woman you tried to bury beat you to the grave and started renting out the dirt." I stepped forward. "Correction. I bought Mocha to survive. You made it sabotage when you tried to gut my career and carve it up for parts." The board didn't speak, but their eyes screamed. Then Robert Whitmore leaned forward. "Bradley, son, step outside." But now, he left, eyes wild, shoulders trembling. Then Robert turned to me. "You planned this?" "No," I said. "He did. I just had better aim." "What would it take," he asked, "to make this go away?" I leaned in. "No hush money, no NDA. I want clean separation. Full dissolution of Whitmore's ties to Mocha publicly declared. And Bradley's resignation. On paper." He sighed. "You're not leaving me much room." "I'm leaving you a company." He handed me a pen. The statement hit the wires 36 hours later. Effective immediately. Bradley Whitmore has stepped down from Whitmore Corporation to pursue new opportunities. No lawsuits, no drama, just a sterilized sentence. Bradley was escorted from the building by security, but something didn't sit right. I should have felt victorious, vindicated. Instead, I felt like someone had changed the locks on a door I'd built. My phone buzzed. Voicemail. Katrina single quotes his voice. Low, soft, almost kind. "If you're hearing this, it means I'm probably out of pocket. I did what I had to do, Sarah. That company was mine before Robert married it away. I needed a fall guy. Brad was born to play the role. Don't look so shocked. You got what you wanted, now walk away." I froze. She used me. Every leak, every whisper, every play. I was the blade she sharpened. I drove to Belmy's, closed, taped to the door. An envelope, inside, a single page, signed, NOTARIZED, transfer of ownership, 12% of Mocha, holdings from Katrina Whitmore to Sarah Tran. I now held 63% of Mocha. Katrina was gone. No social media, no burner number. The trust she used to invest, emptied, dissolved. She'd vanished like she'd never existed. 3 weeks passed. Mocha surged. Clients who once ghosted me now begged for slots. I automated routing systems. Poached Whitmore's former logistics director, he quit with a smile, and brought his entire team. The empire was thriving, but every win tasted like ash. Late one Friday, I received another envelope, no return address, just my name in blue ink. Inside, a photo. Katrina in a hospital bed, smiling, holding a newborn. The name tag on the baby's wrist, Bradley Whitmore, 1993. A letter. Sarah, You were always meant to run it. I just couldn't get there without breaking a few bones, mine included. Bradley wasn't always a monster, but power doesn't forgive softness. I did what I had to do. You did what you had to do. We both carry ghosts now. Here's my final gift. No more strings. No more shadows. You lead now. Don't become me. I sat in my chair until dawn, clutching the photo like it might breathe. Monday morning, I walked into the boardroom. Alone, no lawyers, no Katrina, just me. I pulled up the quarterly report. I'm not here to play queen, I said. I'm here to build something that no man, no sun, and no ghost can burn again. They nodded, and the room belonged to me. Success was supposed to feel different. After Bradley's resignation, Moga had become a juggernaut. My calendar bled red with back-to-back meetings. New contracts. Expansion deals. Whispers about an IPO. Everyone wanted a piece of what I'd built. But behind every headline and high five, there was silence. A space where Katrina should have been. I checked the trust account again. Still empty. The shell company, dissolved. Even the burner line she'd used to send that final letter, disconnected. It wasn't just that she vanished. It was how cleanly she'd done it. Like she'd been planning her exit the whole time. Still, I didn't have time to chase ghosts. Or so I thought. The invitation came disguised as a routine client meeting. Embossed stationery. Gold foil edges. No logo. Just a date, time, and coordinates. It was a private airstrip outside the city at 9 a.m. sharp. I stepped onto the tarmac. A woman in navy slacks and mirrored glasses met me with a clipboard and no smile. This way, Ms. Tran. A sleek black helicopter waited. Inside. Robert Whitmore, you came, he said, like he'd doubted I would. You summoned, I replied. He poured coffee from a thermos older than my career. We have a mutual interest. And a mutual problem. I said nothing. He continued. Bradley's gone. But something's wrong with the books. Quiet acquisitions. Phantom accounts. Shell mergers initiated just before your takeover. I stared out the window as the city shrank below us. You think Katrina planted something? He nodded. Or someone. We landed at a vineyard estate outside Napa. The house looked abandoned. Chipped paint. Dead vines. Cracked fountain. Inside. A single laptop on a marble kitchen island. Already open. Already logged in. Robert pulled up a folder labeled Mergers X57. Inside, a cascade of files. Dozens of transfers, Moga properties, diverted funds, proxy signatures traced to defunct charities and NGOs. He clicked one. A file labeled KW Legacy. It required a password. I've tried everything, he said. I stared at the screen. Then I typed, Ghost Queen. Click. It opened. Inside. A final video. Katrina gaunt. Eyes hollow but still sharp. If you're seeing this, she said, you're either very clever or very late. Moga is clean. The rest isn't. I used the storm to wash away sins that weren't mine. And now. Now you'll need to finish it. She smiled once. Sarah, you're not just the architect. You're the reckoning. The screen went black. It took 2 weeks to trace the threads. Another week to untangle them. Bradley hadn't worked alone. He had enablers. Board allies. Auditors on his payroll. One of the names caught me off guard. Victoria Sims. Moga's own compliance officer. She'd worked under me for months. Quiet, efficient, invisible. Until she vanished. The day after I opened Katrina's file. Her apartment, empty bank accounts. Drained. Passport. Flagged exiting through Dubai. She'd known. She'd known the storm was coming. And she ran. Katrina hadn't just burned a dynasty. She left a fuse lit under its remains. And now it was up to me to find every match. I called an emergency summit. No boardroom. No assistants. Just a single cabin outside the city, rented for the day. I invited only 7 people. Gerald Finaliza Hart II Sr. Moga v. PSA forensic auditor named Nora Robert Whitmer and Vincent Caldwell each walked in with a file waiting. None knew the full picture. Until I laid it bare. Fraud. Collusion. Whispers of offshore manipulation. And Katrina's coded legacy hidden in the ruins. We clean this, I said, or we burn it all down and start over. Gerald leaned forward. And if we clean it, what do we build? I looked each of them in the eye. An empire that doesn't require blood to grow. It wasn't easy. I fired 3 department heads. Closed for international offices. cut 10% of Moga's workforce but offered every displaced employee a severance package twice the industry standard and personalized transition support. Transparency became our weapon. I made a public statement. Moga Holdings has undergone internal restructuring. In light of historical financial mismanagement, we've chosen transparency over damage control. Our house will be in order. And when it is, we'll rebuild better. The market didn't crash, it clapped. Stock rebounded in 3 weeks. Clients respected the candor, and for the first time since I signed the papers, I felt like the throne didn't reek of ghosts. Months passed. One evening, I returned to the rooftop garden outside my office. The skyline glowed beneath a navy sky. I was alone, or so I thought. A figure stepped beside me. Robert Whitmore. I didn't think you'd stay, he said. I almost didn't. He nodded. You remind me of her, Katrina before the war. I'm not her, no, he said. You're what she hoped she could be. Before she realized the cost, we stood in silence. Then he handed me a folder. Her journals. She left them with me. Told me I'd know when to pass them on. Inside, handwritten notes, plans, regrets, and one final page. Empires can be inherited, but legacies must be built. I closed the folder, looked out across the city, and finally, newly, let myself smile. The journals sat on my desk for 2 days before I opened them. Katrina's handwriting was crisp, almost surgical. Her plans detailed years of board manipulation, leveraged buyouts, personal betrayals. But it wasn't the strategy that stopped me cold, it was the regret bleeding through the margins. Every move I made carved someone out of my life. My son. Myself. But if Sarah reads this, it means I've done one thing right, maybe the only thing. I closed the book. Because the past was a graveyard, and I was done digging up ghosts. It was time to build something new. Weeks later, a courier delivered a letter, no name, just coordinates. It led to a ballroom at the Renaissance, downtown. The event. A private summit for female-led corporations. I almost didn't go. Until I saw who was hosting. Eliza Hart. I arrived. In black silk and zero expectations. But what I found was an army. 10 women, each one with a war story. Each one with a crown forged under pressure. A pharmaceutical tycoon. A tech founder. A woman who rebuilt her entire freight empire from the ashes of a hostile takeover. Me, Eliza, raised a glass to building not in their image, but despite it. We toasted. And that night, the future felt different. A week later, I got a call from Robert. I want to transfer my remaining stake. I'm stepping down. Why now? I asked. He paused. Because you already lead the company. Might as well own it. We met in person. No board, no press. Just a signature. With that, I owned 100% of Moga Holdings. A woman who was once called dead weight now controlled the freight ecosystem. Bradley once tried to own through proxies. Poetic. In the weeks that followed, I dismantled the last of the legacy contracts. Set up ethics committees. Installed transparency dashboards the public could access. We became the first logistics company to achieve carbon neutral certification in our class. And I wasn't finished. I funded a startup incubator for women in supply chain tech. Named it K Foundation. No plaque, no legacy speech, just momentum. One evening, months after it all ended, I found a final envelope tucked in my office bookshelf. No stamp, just my name. Inside, a note in Katrina's hand. Sarathers, a kind of power that doesn't scream, that doesn't conquer. It builds, quietly. You found it. Use it. And if the ghosts ever return, don't bury them. Learn from them. Key folded the letter, placed it inside the cover of her journals, and let the past rest. I don't think power ever really leaves blood clean. We all got stained. But legacy that can be different. Legacy is what you plant after the storm, not what you burn during it. I walk through the halls of Moga now, and see walls that aren't papered with conquest but with purpose. My name isn't whispered in fear anymore. It's spoken with respect. Not queen, not boss, architect, and I'm just getting started.